I'm Christine, the anxious beginner. And that's Pale, our fearless captain. Together, we've bought a 45-foot sailboat, and we're ready for an adventure. If you've been following us, then you know that winters in BC can be very challenging for a liveaboard. Of the windstorms and boats dragging into you, the rain, the cold, and the snow, and of course, the amount of times that our heater has failed. Are you ready? Are you ready? Are you ready? We've decided after the summer is over, one last cruising season of the beautiful Pacific Northwest, we are heading south. I am so excited and so overwhelmed. There's so much preparation that is going to go into this trip. This adventure is going to be epic. Pause. Back, I just realized that the sound of the heater was probably, it's still powering down, was probably really annoying in this video, so turned it off. It's powering down. Let's get back to it. First consideration is that Pele and I have only sailed in inland waters. We've only sailed in like the Puget Sound and on the inside of Vancouver Island. We've never done anything in the open ocean. So that is the first thing to consider. The second thing is that we've also never done any overnight passages. Everything is pretty close. There's always an anchorage within a couple of hours sail. So we've never done anything overnight. We have sailed past dark and anchored after dark, but we've never done anything overnight. So this is going to be huge. The stretch between Seattle and San Francisco is the big scary chunk. That is the piece where it is a long stretch of lee shore. There are basically two options for this trip. One is to go way offshore, one straight shot, 7 days at sea, about 7 days at sea, you know, give or take depending on the weather, or to port hop the way down. I'm gonna go over some of the pros and cons of both routes. We have not decided which path that we want to take, which option, and so tell us which way you would go if you were us, and let's talk about some of these pros and cons. So let's talk about if we port hop. If we port hop, what is nice about that is that we can get in out of the weather and stay the night and have some actual sleep. It's gonna take us longer, but here is the issue. River bars. What is a river bar? Basically, the river is flowing out and bringing out sediment and creates shifting sandbars where the river meets the ocean. Then you have the waves coming in from the ocean, the swell coming in from the ocean, and it is building because the water is getting shallower. So it's starting to build these big waves, and then you have strong currents of water just outflowing from the rivers. And this, when these two meet, they create big waves, big standing waves. And that, coupled with moving sandbars, makes it quite dangerous, especially if you don't have local knowledge. If you're not doing this all of the time, this is scary. When you are gonna cross a river bar, you can't decide, well, the weather is really bad right now, we should go. If the weather is unsettled, you can't cross a river bar. They're closed. All of those conditions, like I said, now you've got built up swell and wind going into the factor, can't do it. So you have to decide before the weather gets bad that you're gonna cross that bar and that you're gonna go in and have a nice night. You're gonna wait out weather there. But you also have to time the tides. So there's a lot of planning that goes into crossing these bars. The first stretch of port hopping is river bars, all of them, including the world's most dangerous river bar, the Columbia River, which is nicknamed the Graveyard of the Pacific. One report that I read said there's over 2,000 large ships sunk in that area. I don't want to be one of them. So this is a little bit scary. Another con to port hopping is inconsistency in weather. You start to get more localized weather. So the wind and the weather that is coming in off of the Pacific Ocean and hitting the west coast, when it hits land, it starts to be subject to the geography and the temperatures of the land and starts to create funneling and shifty and gusty winds, as well as other weather phenomena like fog. And so when you are close to shore, these are things that you have to consider. When you are farther out to sea, the land isn't playing a role in the weather and it becomes a little bit more consistent. And then there is the continental shelf. As we discussed before, when the waves are coming in and the water is getting shallower, the waves get larger. This basically happens at the continental shelf. All of the ocean from the Pacific is coming over the continental shelf and creating bigger swells. So if you are farther out to sea, the sea state will actually be flatter because it hasn't rolled up over that continental shelf yet. So if you stay in closer to land, the sea state will be more rolling. However, you'll be able to pick your weather windows a little bit more precise because you won't be going as far to the next port. So there are pros and cons both. Let's talk about the offshore route. Route option 2, going out to sea. No river bars, more settled sea state, more predictable weather patterns, and no crab pots to look out for. This is sounding pretty good, but what are the cons? The first one really is that we're going to be out at sea for at least 7 days. Given that Pally and I, neither of us have been out to sea or even done an overnight passage, that sounds real big, especially if it is only just the two of us and I get seasick. So it could just be Pally solo sailing from Seattle to San Francisco, a tricky bit of water all by himself for the first time. It doesn't sound wise. Which brings us to something that I'm pretty excited about, is that we would like to bring on some crew, a port hop or out to sea. We are interested in bringing someone on board with more experience than us who would maybe like to help us out. If anyone with more experience than us would like to join us on our trip from Seattle to San Francisco, either route, we're still deciding, right? Let us know. Go ahead and email us, and I'll put that email in the description. Let us know if you would like to come help us out. If you are an experienced person and you've always wanted to do this trip, or you just want to help out some fellow sailors going on their first journey trying to figure it out, let us know. We would love to have some crew on board for this epic adventure. So if anyone out there has a cruising guide for down the Pacific coast, and you would like to donate that to us, let us know. We will buy one if no one donates one, but if someone has one just kicking around, let us know. We'd really like one. Some of our next episodes, you will see us prepping the boat and getting ready for this epic adventure, as well as spending our last cruising season here in the beautiful BC area before we head south. I am pretty excited because we are planning to spend a good portion of this summer in Desolation Sound, which is some of the most beautiful cruising in the world. If you're up for enjoying this epic adventure with us, hit subscribe, ring the bell, thumbs up, leave us a comment. You know the drill. See you in the next one.